Okay, so I kind of wanted to go over one of the things I've been using as of recently as a technique for making wall builds on the builds that I make. As you can see, these are big chunks of plates that are built on the sides, as well as having these Technic panels here, just detail on the separate parts. But this is how I've been doing the walls for most of my builds over time. Obviously, some things will be brick built for structure's sake and making a frame, but I usually use what I call plate builds because I don't have any creative names, so don't at me. Um, Basically, the plate builds are these right here. As you can see, the different kinds of pieces. And the thing about these is that since they're 5 bricks tall, I've already measured it, yes, it's 5 bricks tall. Since this is 5 bricks tall in total, and it is able to be versatile, it's able to be structured bricks while having plates that can attach onto the front as well as tiles over that. This has allowed me to basically be able to build stuff like this, multi-floors with the plate builds. Now, obviously, it would bow inwards a little more. That's why you use plates on top that stud into these studs on the top, for like closing doors and everything, for like how the Bison has it. This allows you to make multiple story walls while still being, in most cases, structurally sound. I mean, I can flex this all I want. It's not coming apart at this point. It's only the points where it's not fastened. So if you have layered pieces and everything, it's gonna be a very sturdy build. Again, it's only coming apart at the parts where it's not reinforced. So yeah, methods like that work great for them. And you can still put ordinary bricks going into this area to make it a whole 2x2 bricks thickness, while also putting other pieces on it to give you different options, like maybe some studs that you could be able to have connected here so that you can have like computer screens and stuff sitting there. Another option is that since each one of these is the height of these two together, as long as you have these and this bottom one, you can subtract this for the Technic bricks that have the holes through them, and you can put 2 by each other and have pipes going across the wall right behind the pillar itself, or mixed in with the pillar itself, like it's a part of the pillar. So you can have pipes, wiring, stuff like that going through with flex tubes. Another thing which you might see here in the back is the fact that you can also, with a little bit of jimmy rigging here and there, you can also make it have windows as well. By doing it in this fashion, you can have little windows in the front of it, so you can have a little window option in that form. Another thing is that if you do something like this, make sure you count your math and your studs, because some windows because the 2 bricks tall mixed with the bracket and the plate are just 4 studs tall. That's just not to be 4 studs. I haven't really experimented much with all the others, but I will do that in the future. But basically, that's that form. One of the only flaws with this is that when you put studs on top, which I'll show this in a sec, when you put studs on top and a plate in front, which also, by the way, it gives you to have one color on the inside and on the outside, two separate colors. But it has a flaw to where it doesn't always match up correctly. The solution to this, if I can take this apart and get the right pieces, is that if you use brackets instead, you can have it flush with it, because the bracket sticks out just enough. A bracket and 2 plates is in the form of an entire brick. So you can have it more flush if you want to do it that way, while also having the pipes go through, or wiring, and not be as thick, so you save space on the inside. I don't know how sturdy this is, as I haven't done this before. All I know is that it makes it stick out a little bit, and I kind of don't prefer it like that. I prefer having that little extra overhang. It just looks fine to me. But the way to do it is in this fashion, where you have a bracket, a tile, and a brick, and then you can continue on afterwards. You can pillar this up as tall as you want. I've made this from 6 tall, 4 tall, 1 tall, all the way up to maybe a 10 tall brick, 10 tall structure, and these are extremely sturdy. These aren't going to break that easily once they're reinforced. Obviously, they broke there because it wasn't reinforced. But yeah, that's kind of the thing I've been using for when I do the plate builds and the walls, such as, here, the Bison. The bison, again, uses these walls that are plate built, and they have the structure on the inside. You can also use the 1x1 form of it in the same form, as long as you match up your math a little bit. So you might have to add some plates and stuff like that. A rule of thumb with these is that this is 2 plates tall. This is 3. Use this. Anything under it needs to be 2 plates tall before you go into the next attachment. Now, if it's just this one and this one, 3 plates tall. So you have to make sure you do your math and kind of look at it. If anything, measure it up with normal plates, or just make a little plate build, a 1x1 plate build that's 5 tall, and measure it that way compared to where it's going to be. That's how I usually do it. But that's how I do wall builds, which makes it to where it's able to be very tall. And again, if you measure up to where you have the base plate and then a normal plate before the bricks, you can make a pretty sturdy second floor. And the thing with this is, if I can get a minifigure real quick, I'm not getting any specific minifigure, just a minifigure. I don't care which one. This one works. He has a helmet. I'll just get this guy right here because he has a helmet. And as you can see, it is more than minifigure tall with a helmet. Now, this is kind of the most simplistic helmet, but you get the point. Another thing is you want to put tiles up here where the plate meets the ground, because otherwise then you can have that gap between the studs. A tile works great for that lower area, and it gives some good texture, or lack of texture, I guess you should say. It also works good if you're doing this method, because that extra length meets up with the brick, and it can even be hidden as well if you want to do different colors for stuff like that. But yeah, this is the method I use with a lot of builds, and I'm probably gonna be doing it more. Now again, as long as you math it up correctly, you can make ones that are big enough to house mechs while also housing tanks and other things. But if you're gonna go about doing stuff like this, I'd recommend using a kind of try and measure things out as you're building them. Like if you make a tank or a mech you want to put into it, you measure the bricks compared to the height of the mech. Always make sure that this is at the max height of the mech and that the roof is flat right above it, unless you want to do a specialized curved roof or something like that. It's going to be very boxy and it's not going to be very beautiful looking, but you can make some unique angles with various other pieces. I might explore some of that later in the future if I do a mech carrier now that I have better pieces. It's not going to be something I look into right this minute because I have a lot of work I got to do with some other stuff. But in other words, this is kind of the method that I use when it comes to making wall builds. It saves on parts, is far more structurally stable as far as I've gone to experience. I used to do brick builds, and you flick them and they fall apart depending on which part you're flicking. It's usually only the corners that aren't that flimsy. But generally, again, this is the method I use. It is the method I go to whenever I want to build stuff that is big and bulky and needs walls. Anything from a building to a mobile military base to maybe even a plane if you want. There's ways to make it work. You just got to do some math to figure it out. I've done it sometimes in the future. And God damn it. I've done it multiple times in the futures that, or in the past, excuse me, that has allowed me to get shaping that is much more unique. Again, I might explore that shaping a little bit more in the future, but right now it is what it is, and it's what I try to attach myself to when it comes to making these things. I don't know if that's the right kind of word you'd want to use. God damn it, there's freaking plastic on my stand. But yeah, that's the method. I might explore some more. Oh, and I actually have another thing I want to say out there. Another option is Technic beams. Now, I haven't explored methods like this just yet, so keep it as a grain of salt. It may not be a good design, may not be very structurally stable. I mean, these are Technic bricks and everything, or Technic beams and everything. It may not be the best method, but it's a method that I am hoping to experiment with in the future and figure out a way to make it work. Another piece, which I got recently, is these pieces. I got these up bricks and pieces, and they are roughly the height I'm looking for in some regards, roughly. They can make it really tall, and it'd be great for structured beams and everything. Anything on the inside, if anything. I'd have to do some math of it and try and figure out how to incorporate them. this can be another option. I have hopes to use these pieces in the future. Damn it. To where I'm able to use them in much more structured builds and much more sturdier builds. So yeah, this has just been a quick little video on how to make wall builds and everything. God damn it. To where you're able to really, I guess you say, experiment with what you're doing and go a little bit nuts with your builds and everything, making them a lot more complex while still being simplistic and sturdy. It's kind of what I do. I mean, I'm holding it by its freaking. Actually, let me show it better. Hold it by its thing here. As you can see, it's relatively sturdy. It's barely coming apart. And this thing is hefty. It's a chunky boy. I think something just fell over. That's this. But yeah, you can see it's really sturdy. So I would say that would be the best method towards making a MOC if you want to make big. Is try and do something like this with the brick built. Or the plate build walls, so that way you get better sturdy. Because this is the method I use for it, and it holds together pretty well, especially when it has a lot of friction in multiple places. Then it holds itself together pretty well. So yeah, I'll explore some more of this stuff in the future, go into different methods, maybe even how I did the wheels and how I attached those, other angles, maybe techniques and how I got this absolute nightmare to work. This is using linear actuators, by the way. Yes, this is a nightmare. No, I don't regret it. This is beautiful. Oh, God. But, yeah. I'm going to probably do a review of the bison and the weasel. But that's generally the idea. That's the concept I kind of brought into it. And I hope that you're able to use this for your next build. Bye!